Distinguished parliamentarians, dear guests, good afternoon. I'm Ripsime Grigorian, Member of Parliament, member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and I'm happy and delighted to host our today's roundtable discussion. And I very much hope that you have enjoyed the event since the morning, the opening session, the opening addresses by the Foreign Minister, by the Prime Minister, and then several of the panels. And today we're going to discuss in this roundtable format the Crossroads of Peace initiative project by the government of Armenia. And the title of our roundtable discussion is Crossroads of Peace, through democracy to security to prosperity. And as the title says, we're going to actually explore the possibilities, pathways for enhanced connectivity from the South Caucasus region and surrounding regions to beyond. From the South Caucasus to the Caspian region, further to the Central Asia, but also to the Mediterranean region and to Europe, and from north to south and the other way around to the Persian or Arabic Gulf. So before I pass the floor to my colleague, Sarkis Khandanyan, chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, who is going to deliver the key address, just a few technical briefing. So we're going to have the key address, and afterwards, a few of our colleagues have already expressed interest in taking the floor as speakers. So everybody will be having the chance to take the floor and have intervention during the first round. Everyone, regardless of any previous and prior notification, I will give the floor to everyone who raises their hand. If we have time afterwards, I will be having questions to you, and at the same time, we can take questions also from the audience, and the parliamentarians can also address questions to each other. And then Mr. Khandanyan is going to have a closing remark, and I will be closing our discussion. We have about an hour and 10 minutes, approximately, because we need to leave the hall before 4. So I wish everyone a very productive and fruitful exchange of ideas. And with no further delay, I pass the floor to Mr. Khandanyan. Please, Mr. Khandanyan.
Thank you, Ripsime. Distinguished colleagues, members of parliament, dear friends, first of all, I would like to thank you all for accepting our invitation and for your presence in Yerevan and at this discussion. It is a privilege to speak before you today at this important gathering, where we come together not only to reflect, but also to take responsibility as decision makers, as representatives of our peoples. I want to begin by thanking the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Armenia for its initiative to co-organize this side event with the National Assembly of Armenia under the auspices of the Yerevan Dialogue Forum. This event reflects our shared commitment to fostering dialogue, trust, and practical solutions in a rapidly changing world. We are here under a hopeful title, Crossroads of Peace, through democracy to prosperity and security. In front of you on the table is a map, not just of infrastructure, but of vision. It is the map of the Crossroads of Peace project, an initiative by the government of Armenia to reimagine the South Caucasus, not as a permanent theater of conflict, but as a crossroad of cooperation. For Armenia, this is more than just a theme. It is a vision, a strategy, and a commitment. Our government has launched the Crossroads of Peace project as a practical, peaceful, and future-oriented initiative. And today, earlier in the morning, you had the opportunity to hear from the Prime Minister Pashinyan about this project. The idea is simple, but transformative, to open and rebuild all regional transport and economic links connecting east to west and south to north, linking Central Asia to Europe and the Gulf and Middle East to the Black Sea and beyond, with a vision to become a hub of secure, transparent, and rule-based connectivity. Crossroads of Peace is not just a theory, it's a concrete, realistic plan to reopen and build new roads, railways, pipelines, energy corridors, and communications infrastructure across our region. It is based on 4 guiding principles: sovereignty, jurisdiction, reciprocity, and equality of all participants. There are the principles that can make regional connectivity not just possible, but sustainable. I emphasize the importance of these principles because we face challenges where certain actors seek to impose extraterritorial control or coercive conditions on connectivity projects, particularly targeting Armenia. Such approaches not only undermine peace, they defeat the very purpose of cooperation. We believe that sovereign connectivity is peaceful connectivity. Dear friends, geography is not a destiny. For years, our region has been described as unstable, too divided to cooperate, too fragile to grow. We were told that our borders are risks, not opportunities, but we do not accept this narrative. We believe that our location at the intersection of civilizations, markets, and cultures is not a burden, but a strategic asset. And yes, as a Christian nation at the eastern edge of Europe, Armenia has often been seen as a guardian of democratic values and traditions. That identity is important. But we are not only a gate. We are seeking to build a crossroad, a space where values meet interests, where dialogue meets trade, where trust can take root through practical cooperation. And this ambition is not only for Armenia, it is for the entire region. The Crossroads of Peace initiative is designed to be fully compatible with the European Union's Global Gateway and the Middle Corridor. It supports diversification of routes, resilience of supply chains, and building of regional value chains that serve our economies and our societies. The more connected we are, the more secure we all become. Peace is not just the absence of war, it is presence of interaction, of people-to-people contact, of business cooperation. Roads, railways, pipelines, and cables are not just infrastructure, they are the veins of peaceful coexistence. Every successful trade deal, every cultural exchange, every passenger or container that crosses a reopened route strengthens and enhances stability. Let us be honest, the current global context demands this kind of thinking. We live in a time of renewed fragmentation, where great power competition, wars, and economic disruptions challenge everything we have built. But in that environment, regions like ours, if we choose peace and cooperation, can offer something the world badly needs: new links, new trust, and new hope. This is where our role as parliamentarians is crucial. Peace is not made in closed rooms or distant capitals. It is built by those who are directly accountable to people. We as elected representatives carry the trust of our citizens. That gives us not only legitimacy, but also the duty to shape policies that serve their real needs: security, prosperity, and stability. I believe and hope that international organizations, global partners, and democratic institutions must support these efforts with sustainable engagement, with investment, and with encouragement for regional projects that are rooted in ownership, dialogue, and shared interest. And let me close with this. Crossroads of Peace is not just a transport map. It is the belief that even in a troubled region, peace is possible if we invest in it together with cooperation and with the political courage to choose connection over division. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarkis, for setting the context and basically sharing our vision of the Crossroads of Peace as a possibility of connectivity over division. And I want to provide the floor to Mr. Pavel Fischer, Chair of the Foreign Affairs, Defense and Security Committee of Czechia. Please, Mr. Fischer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, this is my pleasure to be here. I'm chairing the committee of the Senate of the Czech Republic, and I'm in charge of security, defense, and foreign relations. And I think that this nexus that you highlighted between security and prosperity is a nexus which is of utmost importance, and we should pay special attention to, because without security there is no prosperity, and our citizens and our constituencies expect that we pay attention to this. As you know, as member of parliament, we are invited to hold into account our governments, to read, to challenge them, to observe them. But if you are in charge of foreign relations, you have to travel, you have to engage, you have to leave your office, you have to listen to others and meet people. And I have to say that this morning session opened by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Armenia and followed by Prime Minister Pashinyan, a vision of Crossroads of Peace, was something very inspiring to me. Each time, if we look at the map of the globe, we have to replace our mind in the region that we would like to understand better the challenges and interests. And I think that today's session was a very nice immersion in the reality of today, of Armenia and of your region, that can become a real crossroad of peace and of cooperation, of security and also of prosperity. And we are ready to help you, to accompany you, and we are eager to know more about your plans and maybe challenges where we could help to meet. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I am happy that I am in Yerevan today.
Thank you, Mr. Fischer. And very well said about linking the security to prosperity. Indeed, there is also this democratic peace theory, which says that there is correlation between democracy and peace. So some are prone to think that peace is a result of democracy, and the others that democracy is a result of peace. But everybody agrees that there is this interconnectedness. And with this, I want to provide the floor to our next speaker, Mr. Zdenko Kozic from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Please, Mr. You have the floor.
Hvala lijepa. Gospođe i gospodo, sve vas pozdravljam. Čuli ste, ja dolazim iz Bosne i Hercegovine.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all. I greet you all. I'm coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina, as you've heard.
Ako bismo tražili neku sličnost sa Armenijom i Bosnom i Hercegovinom, odnosno regijama u kojima se nalazimo, onda je to svakako burna, na određenim razdobljima i teška povijest.
If we were trying to find the similarity between Armenia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, then it would be past, which was very troubled.
Danas naravno da nam je zajedničko i to što smo već ovdje čuli, iznaći rješenja za naše građane, za miran život i prosperitet.
Another similarity is what we have heard today is to look for a way to find dialogue and a better way of life to our citizens and our countries.
U ostvarivanju tih ciljeva svakako veliku ulogu imaju parlamenti i ta parlamentarna suradnja, jer bilo bi krivo ulogu parlamenta reducirati samo na zakonodavno tijelo.
In accomplishing those goals, the role of parliament is very important to limit parliaments as just a legislatory body.
Parlamenti bi trebali biti i parlamentarci, komunikacijski kanali za sve ljude, za regije i uopće u najširem smislu.
Should develop communication channels with all regions, all people, and in a wide sense.
Jer na takav način imamo više prilike iznaći rješenja za sve one izazove pred kojima se nalazimo.
And this is the only way we could find a solution to all problems we have.
Postoji jedan, po mom mišljenju, preduvjet da bismo takve ciljeve ostvarivali, a to je prihvaćanje i razvijanje demokracije.
One important precondition to this is acceptance and development of democracy.
Kad bismo htjeli definirati demokraciju, vjerojatno bismo dobili mnoštvo različitih definicija.
And if we were to define democracy, we would probably get many different definitions of democracy.
Međutim, sve te definicije imaju jedan zajednički nazivnik. Mir i prosperitet.
But today all definitions of democracy have one single name, peace and prosperity.
Mi u Bosni i Hercegovini to dobro znamo. Demokracija nema nekakav jedinstven recept.
We fully understand in Bosnia and Herzegovina democracy doesn't have a single unique recipe.
Pa ako pogledamo i demokratska društva u Europskoj uniji, vidjet ćemo da društveni model u jednoj zemlji ne može se tek tako prepisati za drugu zemlju.
But if we look across democratic countries in European Union, the single democratic model in one country doesn't necessarily transcribe to another country.
Nije nikakav problem, recimo ovdje u Armeniji ili kod nas u Bosni i Hercegovini, napraviti neko tradicionalno talijansko ili francusko jelo. Dovoljno je da imate recept.
It's not a problem here in Romania to have French or Italian meal. It's just enough to have a recipe.
Međutim, ne možete recept talijanskog društva ili francuskog ili bilo kojeg tek tako prepisati na svoju zemlju.
But you can't transcribe the Italian society's recipe or French or to your country.
Morate pronaći vlastiti recept.
You have to find your own recipe.
Mi u Bosni i Hercegovini to imamo kao jedan od većih političkih problema. Kako pronaći recept da zadovoljimo zahtjeve demokracije, a stvorimo društvo koje je spremno priključivati se Evropskoj uniji.
We in Bosnia and Herzegovina have a difficulty to find one single recipe which would comply the needs of society and at the same time serve us on our path towards the EU.
Osobno mislim da je rješenje u takozvanoj politici dekomodacije, da se one političke ideje koje možemo nazvati ekstremnim sa političkog, da se maknu, marginaliziraju i da tražimo zajedničko rješenje koje će uvažavati druge i drugčije.
One possible solution would be in decommodization of extreme ways, extreme politics, which don't comply with needs of societies and people all represented within the country.
Mi u Bosni i Hercegovini specifični smo po mnogo čemu i mislimo da samo određeni oblik konsocijacije, podjele vlasti može biti dobar recept za Bosnu i Hercegovinu, naravno i ono što je dobro za sve zemlje i sve regije, snažno jačanje bilateralnih odnosa.
We in Bosnia and Herzegovina think there are different ways of division of power and we don't always agree on that. But the way is to actually make
Jačanje bilateralnih odnosa.
Strengthening of bilateral dimension is very important.
Nadam se da ćemo osigurati mirno okruženje u kojima ćemo postići te ciljeve, što naravno želimo i vama.
We are sure we will ensure the peaceful environment and accomplish those goals which we also want to you to.
Hvala vam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Čožić, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced the last name of some of our colleagues. Yes, I just want to highlight the one of the central ideas that you stated in your intervention, that democracy does not have only one recipe. Indeed, there can be different democracies, and this variety of democracies and learning from each other is what makes us strong. And for this, we need to hear voices from various parts of the world and various regions. And here, I want us to move to a bit north to Great Britain, and I want to give the floor to Mr. Andrew Rosendale. Please, sir, you have the floor.
You for inviting me to speak today at this seminar and to take part in the Yerevan Dialogue. This is an amazing event with friends from across Europe and the wider family of nations to show our support for Armenia. Armenia is a proud nation state with an amazing history going back many centuries. And in my lifetime, to see Armenia become a free and independent sovereign nation again is one of the things that I am incredibly proud to see happen. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, essentially where all of us want to be proudly independent, sovereign in our own land, but prosperous and free as nations. Sadly, there are too many countries in the world who believe it is their role to dominate, to establish structures which give them influence over nation states, rather than promote the idea of bilateral cooperation. Some use these international structures to gather power to themselves. Others use military means to threaten other countries and then enhance their own national interests. Armenia has been, I think, at the epicenter of this for far too long. And that's why I'm pleased to be here in Armenia for my second visit. My first was in 1999, and to see how much this country has progressed, to see the enterprise and the prosperity that has been created, to see the expansion of this country as a democratic society, certainly since 2018, and now under the leadership of Prime Minister Pashinyan, to look at how Armenia can be a crossroads for prosperity and peace in what has been a troubled region over many, many years. So that's why I'm pleased to be back in Yerevan. I'm pleased to say on behalf of friends back in the United Kingdom that we are with you. We stand with Armenia. I am a Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs for the Conservative Party in the UK Parliament, but we also have a cross-party group of MPs representing every political party in both the House of Commons and the upper house, which is the House of Lords. And we support Armenia, and we promote the importance of giving Armenia the chance to play its part in the evolution of the family of European nations, but to be that crossroads here in such a pivotal region of the world. And the vision your Prime Minister has demonstrated fills us with hope. And that's why I'm very pleased to be here today to offer my support of my party and of parliamentarians throughout the United Kingdom who see Armenia as a partner and a friend, a Christian country that has defended its culture, its heritage, and its way of life. And long may that continue. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. And thank you also for highlighting the peaceful transformation of Armenia taking place in 2018, and also highlighting the similarities that our countries share based on democratic values and human rights. This is the basis of our cooperation. We do truly believe in that, and we are determined to build on that. And with this, I want to pass the floor to Mr. Charles Flanagan from Ireland, who has also who will be also sharing his views on the topic with us.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. And can I join with previous speakers in saying what a privilege and honour it is to have the opportunity of spending some time in Yerevan, particularly in view of the most interesting agenda that has been put forward by the organisers. I was asked at the airport last night when I arrived, had I ever been to Yerevan before? And I said, yes, I was here once, and that was in 1993. But I stopped saying that this morning because people said to me, 1993, I wasn't even born then. So I was here in 1993, a long, long time ago. And I would like to compliment everybody here in Armenia for the manner in which the country has radically and visibly improved over a range of issues since that time. I'm a member of Parliament from Ireland. Well, I was a member of Parliament in Ireland for 38 years, and I didn't stand in the last election in November. My daughter said I was finished, and it was time to hang up the boots and make way for younger people. So I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to give perhaps of my experience over the years at forums such as this. I come from Ireland, a small island in the Atlantic, on the periphery of Europe. So in my brief remarks, I'm not going to lecture anybody on the politics of this region, but I am pleased to follow Andrew and maybe give of our perspective on the politics of our region. Haven't met Andrew before, but I want to acknowledge the work that he does in the Parliament of Britain at fostering dialogue and partnership and collaboration between the islands of Great Britain and Ireland. Islands that have for almost 900 years been very much at the centre of conflict, all of which is now changed under a new dispensation. The hallmark of which has been working together. And my message today is working together. Coming from a small island, isolated. I was 15 years of age when Ireland joined the European Union in 1973. I remember the excitement in my school since then. And I have to say that the European Union remains the greatest peace process on earth. And I think we need to take that for granted and we need to interrogate it. That's why I was a little disappointed this morning to hear Prime Minister Fico strike a negative note when in his short address he messaged a negative, what he opposed in the European Union rather than what he proposes for the European Union. And the cornerstone of Irish foreign policy since our independence in 1922 has been multilateralism, working in the multilateral sphere, United Nations in particular. We're not members of NATO or any military organization, so we pride ourselves in our membership of the United Nations and the United Nations Charter. The Council of Europe is hugely important to us. The OSCE is hugely important to us. And also bilateral parliamentary memoranda of understanding that we strike up from time to time. And over the last 5 years, I was chairman of the Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee in our Parliament and struck many a shared value note with Pavel. And I was delighted to hear him earlier and agree fully with what he has said regarding working together, either on a bilateral basis or through the multilateral organizations. And final point I want to make is this. We shouldn't be afraid to work out new forums and new ways of collaborating. Ireland and Armenia have one thing in common, and that is the strength of our diaspora. Ireland is a small island of 5 million people, but our diaspora worldwide is 77 million people. And we have, I think, successfully harnessed that to our benefit, particularly in times of challenge. Times of challenge, the conflict on our island, when we could draw on the support of our friends in the United States of America in particular to assist when matters were very difficult and couldn't be resolved around table ourselves. The challenge of Brexit, the withdrawal of our nearest neighbour from the European Union, presented us with a huge difficulty in Ireland, because if you stand in the Grand Place in Brussels now and look west, you will see Ireland not only as an island behind an island, but an island behind an island that's no longer a member of the European Union. So we work with our European colleagues in order to address what on the face of it is an imbalance or a challenge. And finally, in relation to our connections with the United Kingdom, Andrew didn't say that he was proud to be the chairman of a new body that we set up after our conflict ceased in the late 1990s. It was the British-Irish Interparliamentary Body. I was vice chairman of that body in the 1990s. Andrew may still be the chair of that body. And that presents him with a challenge to ensure that our shared values, or that we concentrate on agendas of what we have in common rather than what divides us. So we can work in education, in health, in environment, in energy, leave the difficult constitutional issues perhaps for another day when things are better, but concentrate on what we have in common for our people. And finally, if anybody has any questions on anything that I've said, I'd be delighted to address them, but really pleased to be back in Yerevan and wish you every success in future endeavours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flanagan. Indeed, the wisest thing probably we can do is to concentrate on those areas where we can cooperate and work towards those times when the other issues will also be feasible to address. And I want to provide the floor now to Mr. Arin Karapet, Member of Parliament from Riksdag, Sweden. Please, Mr. Karapet, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ripsime. Barevdes. I had to say hi first in Armenian, it's my native language. So I will continue in Swedish. So distinguished colleagues, no, sorry, English. Well, we Swiss love England, so it's not a big difference. So distinguished colleagues, guests, friends, Swedish ambassador of Sweden. Sweden is, as you know, has been a neutral country until the recently, yeah. The process was very hard for some of the parties, but not me, for us. I come from the Liberal Conservative Party. So after Russia invaded Ukraine, we Swedes said, with our Finnish friends, we have to go into NATO now. There is no neutrality left in Europe. But what we Swedes can bring to the table, not only one of the best defensive weapons in the world, which we are quite proud of, is that we have been a peace facilitator. Sweden has been a peace facilitator in many conflicts, just not in Europe. It's been in Korea, Sudan, Israel, Palestine. We have been in peacekeeping missions. So what we can bring to the table is sit around the table and try to fix the complex questions. And there is a living example when you can meet MPs from Ireland and UK sitting together, and if you look at the past, it was quite dark. But nowadays, to sit around the table and having a conversation, people are traveling between the two countries. They have trade, students are moving. Somebody's moving from London to Dublin or from Dublin to London and studying. People get married. Things that maybe were impossible maybe 50, 100 years ago is possible today. So as a Swede, I'm very proud also that Armenia is the third country that's prioritized in Europe after, of course, Ukraine and Moldova. Sweden can help and provide with the experience of rule of law, how to build independent institutions, because you will never become a democracy because you had just a democratic elections. You have to have the public trust. The institution has to be independent bodies. People have to have a trust that there is rule of law. And that is something we Swedes are quite good in. And Swedish bureaucracy is quite good when you come abroad. We as Swedes always complain about our own bureaucracy, but when we come abroad, we say, I miss the Swedish bureaucracy, because at least I know it's right in the end. But when it comes to just not the governmental relations, I would also bring to the table economic growth. When people feel there's economic growth, that my children will get a proper education. That's why I'm happy that Sweden is one of the countries that always welcoming countries, new countries to European Union. For example, Bosnia, or I look at Montenegro. Also, Armenia is aspiring, Ukraine, Moldova. We're always open to get more family members to the European Union. And I was also want to say to the honorable gentleman, Mr. Rosendale, we both are conservatives, so I would love to see United Kingdom as a member again in the European Union, because we as Swedes need you. We cannot only rely on the Germans. So, but I have hope. I'm young. I'm 37. So maybe my grandchildren will see United Kingdom as a member of European Union. But it's just a desire. But I'm happy to be here because these gatherings, when we sit as MPs, maybe tomorrow some of us are minister. Maybe that's the person I need to be able to call. Because sometimes personal relations can solve problems. So that's why I'm very honored to be here. And I'm also happy as an Armenian to see a new Armenia grow. Because we can think that, oh, the prime minister and the foreign minister came, we had a nice event in Divin. Armenia is becoming a normal country in the world. Armenians just don't travel abroad. People from the abroad is now traveling to Armenia. So Armenia is becoming a part of the world, just not a landlocked country where everybody feels sorry about. It's time for Armenia also to be a game changer in the region. And as you know, Armenians are good, very good in the diaspora. So now it's time for the Armenians who live in Armenia to show and build their own fate and future. Thank you.
Thank you, Arinjan. Thank you, Mr. Karapet. And we can really not overestimate the importance of lessons learned and the lessons that we can really take advantage of from history and the very good examples that Mr. Karapet provided us with. And I want to give the floor now to Mr. Wilhelm Junila from Finland to continue with the Scandinavian experience and from the Finnish perspective. Please, you have the floor, Mr. Junila.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for our Nordic cooperation in the previous speech. So we always have a great relationship with Sweden. And also, hello from Finland to every one of you, including the ambassadors present here. In recent years, Armenia has had to endure a lot of adversity. You have had to be very resilient. That has required a lot of courage, and we admire it. I would like to share two examples of how we do in Finland in terms of being resilient. The first one concerns the parliamentary side, and then I will continue to the economic, business and civil society side. Obviously, the world is increasingly polarized, and to be resilient as a society, I would like to highlight the importance of trust on the parliamentary side, and use Finland as an example. Of course, we have a lot of opinions. We disagree on pretty much everything ideologically, or whatever there is. For example, in immigration, we have tons of different views, and normal daily politics as well. We like to disagree sometimes. All 7 parties at the parliament disagree between themselves, penal issues and so on. However, we try to find common ground on issues which concern national security. Every legislation that affects the armed forces, for example, or defensive expenditure, and especially anything that concerns our external borders. In addition to this, we also try to find and have like a unified foreign policy, despite of whoever is controlling the government. And it's of vital importance to be on the same page on these issues. And if we have a huge issue, like a huge challenge, very difficult one, we usually have a process where before beginning the legislation process, we form a parliamentary kind of a parliamentary group that every party has a representative. It's not, the government it doesn't bind, government can do whatever it wants to, but it's usually helpful to share the views and try to find common ground, come into a unanimous decision. It's kind of a working solution to gain the trust of everyone, and most usually the government also takes that into account, and that's why there is usually no huge public or political divide on issues concerning national security, even if we would disagree on pretty much anything else. And this kind of process leads to 3 positive outcomes that makes us very resilient against the external influence. For example, the willingness to defend the country is extremely high, even in most hopeless and precarious situations. Pretty much everyone in Finland would defend the country no matter what, even if it would seem and be deemed hopeless. There's also a shared view of national identity, so it doesn't become monopolized by any one party. And thirdly, continuity, so that the next government doesn't undo the decisions. That's how we work on issues regarding national security, and on parliamentary side can stand as one and be resilient against whatever threats might be upon us. And on civil society and business side, I would like to share an example as well. Armenia is an example of multi-layered diplomacy, which is very important to endure hybrid warfare, for example. Democratic countries like us are, however, vulnerable to these kind of threats. Many countries thought economic dependency could support stable relations, but the opposite could also be true. These dependencies could trigger the hybrid warfare. Of course, the political implications are obvious, but we must learn to see the disconnect between trade and political relations, however friendly they might appear. Most of the time, our thinking is centered around states. Of course, regulations, trade agreements, and so forth, they matter a lot, but businesses make everything possible. They too should implement strategic approaches and effectively address hybrid threats and strengthen their resilience and readiness. More authoritarian and less democratic countries may use these businesses and to pose a risk to the states that lack insight to battle these asymmetric kind of threats that have recently appeared. And these threats are ever more complex. And to concentrate on state alone, in my opinion, is kind of a recipe for disaster. The businesses, civil society need to be ready as well. And in Finland, we have it's called a national defensive course, but it has nothing to do with military well, it's of course something it has to do with national security, but it's not military course or anything like that. But it's something that people from various positions gather together, perhaps 15 to 60 people. I think there are like 4 courses a year or more. And we have had over 300 of these. And they gather together and work together, have several scenarios, threats they need to battle against. And that's how you also gain the trust between the civil society, business side, parliamentary side, and you have to kind of role play the whole thing to be resilient in terms of threats like that. So that's the second example I wanted to share you, because it's been very useful. Everyone who has been part of the process is their trust of the state and each other has really skyrocketed, and that's also something that has built upon the society to be resilient as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Junila, for sharing with us the Finnish experience of making the society even more resilient by various means and stressing some of the vulnerabilities of modern democracies. And with this, I want to give the floor now to Mr. Michalis Livanos. Please, you have the floor from Greece.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Chairwoman. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm also very honored to be here in Yerevan and for the dialogue that it is a Greek word, and I want to give you all special information, but that through the dialogue in Greece, we created and we understood better what democracy is. So it's very fertile and productive to discuss, to create relationships, to move on under a certain plan when you manage to discuss even with your enemies. The problem of isolation in the relationships of two countries has always been the most important factor of aggravation and deterioration of their common and individual perspectives in these countries. So, with the example of our relationship with Turkey, a difficult relationship, even though many of our other parties in Greece, they consider us, many times we receive negative reviews, they call us reducers or compliants. But the dialogue itself doesn't make you compliant when you come to a meeting with the goals and many times red lines. Even if you don't reach to a result, at least you would have learned a lot about how the other side thinks and what is their probable goals in this discussion. So we have to discuss even if we disagree. We should discuss on a basis with rules and principles. And when the result is negative, there should always exist a channel of communication that can be open in any case, in any crisis, especially in our uncertain days. I made that comment because the word vision on the Crossroads of Peace contains the meaning of difficulty and unreliability. And because this vision is both, this is my strong belief, is both realistic and achievable. And also it will bring about what is the goal of every prosperous and developing society, what is peace and integrity, not only in the South Caucasus region, but also more widely in a region that has tested many conflicts and from complex risks of destabilization. So I want to make clear that from the decisions we make at every moment, depending on the surrounding atmosphere along with the environment around us, largely shape the course of the countries in the coming years. In addition, a key criterion in these decisions we make is which goals we serve. So when the goal is peace, prosperity, the development of economic activity in a region, this goal is served if our criteria in our decisions is prudence, calmness, and logic. There are many things that I wanted to say, but I will try to make a little more time for the colleagues. So, discussing how to pave the way for a better tomorrow in South Caucasus, both Greece and the European Union support the Crossroads of Peace initiative, which your Prime Minister announced at December of 24 or 23, 23, yes, so that the wider region from a theater of conflict to be transformed into a commercial hub that will connect the Black Sea, the Persian Gulf, and the Mediterranean Sea. Because in the end, only common prosperity silences the guns, along with the progress of the people, repels the plans of authoritarian leaders. So we fully support Armenia's orientation towards the West, and it is natural as a member of the European Union and NATO as a country to contribute with expertise and experience to the construction of this liberal democratic path. And for historical Armenia, with which as Greeks we share common values, common struggles, we will stand by it to protect its great cultural heritage in areas such as Karabakh is. Thank you very much, and I will be able, I guess, to answer to some questions. Thanks again for the very honorable contribution to this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Livanos, both for your statement of support for Armenia's foreign policy and for our efforts to establish peace in our region, but also for highlighting the importance of dialogue and regardless of the results achieved at its various phases, the importance of continuing the dialogue. And with this, I want now to provide the floor to Mr. Michele Valencise, not a member of parliament, but the president of the Institute of International Affairs. Please, Mr. Valencise, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, let me say how impressed I am by the perfect organization of this event by the Armenian authorities. It's a great proof of efficiency. Bravo. But I'm much more impressed by the message that we all heard today in the morning by the Foreign Minister and by your Prime Minister. That was a message of peace, a message of courage, and a message of pragmatism. I think you highlighted in a very clear and convincing way a process that you're developing with your neighborhood. And I am impressed by the clarity and by the determination that you showed in this process. I think that you have some advantages in this phase. And the advantages are very synthetically. First of all, the fact that you can count on the Eastern Partnership with the European Union. That is a useful framework, a very useful and fruitful framework in which we Europeans, we can accompany and support your efforts. As far as my country, as Italy is concerned, I think you have the advantage of an excellent bilateral relation with Italy, with Rome. We had the pleasure of receiving President Kandanian and some of his colleagues in the last few weeks. And that mission was a sign of how important the role of Parliament can be in the relationship with a foreign country, in the relationship with a foreign continent. So that is an advantage also given the strong pro-Armenian prejudice of our Prime Minister that promised a strong support for Armenia's European orientation. And let me say one word, since we are all, you are all, I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not a parliamentarian. Let me say one simple word about the role of Parliament. I think this is an important role. And I have to think about an episode which I will summarize in 30 seconds of our recent story. Not so recent because you were not born at the time when I'm referring this episode. This was at the beginning of the 80s where we had some still, as Europeans also, some still very delicate relations with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, with the PLO. There were some discrete contacts, but it was not recognized as an official counterpart. And I remember the Italian parliament inviting Mr. Arafat, not in agreement with the Italian government that at the time was linked by the common policy that was very careful with Arafat. And I remember Mr. Arafat coming to Rome, to Rome's parliament, with his nice gun on his belt. And I remember a very fruitful discussion with him. He put the gun aside, of course. But there was an element where it was very clear that Parliament could play a role parallel to the government, not only as a copy of the government, but as an integration, as a positive integration of the function of the government. So you don't need any piece of advice, but I encourage you to strengthen this parliamentary dimension. Since we speak about parliamentary dimension here at this table, I encourage you to strengthen, on the basis of the Italian-Armenian experience, as much as you can, this parliamentary dimension of our dialogue. It will give fruits. It is a very positive area in which you can advance. So everybody has to make his own part. You are part of a, let me say, historical process, because in a moment in which we have countries that try and think to be able to lose their problems by the use of force, this is a very good model, a very good example, not only in the region, but I think in the world of what you're doing and what you are trying to achieve through peaceful means, through negotiations, through patience, and through respect of the basic conditions of all the parties connected. So I think everybody has to make his own part. And I think we Italians, we Europeans, we have the duty to accompany your courageous process with all our sympathy and with all our hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Valencise, for your words of support. And also, since you spoke about the role of parliamentarians, I want to give back the floor to our colleagues parliamentarians and maybe ask if some of the members of parliament, maybe from Montenegro or from, yes, I see already hands. Please, Mr. Subotic, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Or also, sorry to say, also, so the floor is open also for other colleagues, maybe also from Ukraine, I believe. Yes, so please.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the warm welcome here in Yerevan. I'm really enjoying it. Some of my colleagues before actually gave a great introduction to what I wanted to say, especially Honorable Flanagan or Honorable Karapet. I focused on some of the links and some of the general themes that you provided for this meeting, and I'd like to say that geopolitics is an ever-present factor in everything we do, of course. It changes, but this change is ever-present. It's a uniqueness that we have to deal with, much in the Balkans, like in this area here. And as my colleague Chosic said, we can draw many parallels between the situations. So foreign policy, foreign relations, as we heard before, is always about interest. Don't get that wrong. Problems that, what I see within these parallels, problems that both of our regions faced were problems that were not problems under the umbrella of the old country or the old ways. And I'm firmly convinced that they're not going to be problems under the new umbrella, which in the case of Montenegro is the European Union. Montenegro as the front runner really counts on European Union to be this new umbrella that will resolve many of the issues that we have in the Balkan area. What do these umbrellas show us? They show us that we are capable of resolving these issues, and we're capable of living and working together, like Mr. Flanagan said. But why don't we do it? Why outside of these umbrellas? You know, it's an issue that each one of us needs to discuss. But what I saw this morning here in Yerevan, I saw a prime minister who wants to solve that kind of problem and wants the peace and security outside these umbrellas. And I saw a country ready with a plan and with the project and ready to work on it. And many times he repeated the sentence, if our partners want it, you know, Armenia is ready. We will sign this or that treatment, and I like that. So what do we need to embrace? We need to embrace what foreign relations are there for, interests, and interests are economy and cooperation and working together. And finally, in order to do that, outside of just discussing and using the parliamentary diplomacy, which is a key factor, we need to work on our infrastructure. That's something that in the Balkan area did not work in the old country and the under umbrella. It doesn't work still today. Many of our cooperation meetings, the most difficult thing is to reach, you know, Sarajevo from Podgorica or you know, Pristina from Mostar or things of that genre. So under this new umbrella of European Union, which we firmly strive to, Montenegro is already a part of the growth plan. We have so many funds available. And we are receiving these funds, and we're receiving closing chapters and getting closer to the EU on a merit base. So this is what I want to conclude with. Let's work together, of course. That's always a message in every arena. But at the same time, let's try to find the ways and focus on the things that unite us and focus the things we need to do together, the economic growth, the exchange of people, and I foresee a bright future for both regions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spodic. And I pass the floor to Mr. Mikisha from Ukraine.
Yeah, thank you. And it's very important to me be here, and I'm very grateful for inviting. I'm first of all in Armenia, and I love it. Second of all, sorry for my English, but what I want to say, I see and I watching now this is real steps to peace. Not just talking, not just someone's fantasy. It's a real plan, and I see it. And it's very important in this world who move into world war. We see that one country want to peace and doing real steps. And we very support, and I hope that our relations with this both our countries, it's make much more better than now we have, and I always pleasure to see our friends in our country. I invite you, and all you invite, please come, and thank you for invite. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mikisha. And since we're short of time, I'm inviting our last speaker, Mr. Domagoj Hajdukovic from Croatia, our ex-colleague in the parliament and now an expert. Please, you have the floor. And afterwards, we will have the closing remark by Sarkis Khandanyan. And please, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you said, yes, I'm an ex-parliamentarian. Now I represent Center for International Relations from Croatia. I was a parliamentarian before. Unfortunately, I cannot boast experience of my Irish colleague. So I sat in only 4 convocations of Croatian Parliament, which is approximately half of his experience, time-wise at least. But still, in the last convocation, I chaired the European Affairs Committee of Croatia, and this is when I had the opportunity to visit your beautiful country and to meet you, of course, with other colleagues. And I must say that I'm astounded by the progress that was made, because just over a year ago, Armenia was grappling with the humanitarian catastrophe that was looming. You were facing a possible foreign invasion. There was a lot of uncertainty in the air, bordering on panic even. And only in a year, we see a completely changed situation. And I must credit Mr. Pashinyan, your Prime Minister, who really had the, and pardon my French here, guts to take very, very painful and serious steps to ensure stability of Armenia. And being a former parliamentarian, I just want to mention a few words about parliamentary diplomacy. I completely agree with my learned colleague from Bosnia and Herzegovina on the importance of parliamentary diplomacy. It's not only parliamentary tourism, it's broadening your views, collecting experiences, and of course, networking. In this sense, I'm happy to say that Armenia is making very good use of the Council of Europe, and your colleague who chairs your delegation, Ruben Rubinian, please say hi on my behalf, is doing a good job there. And finally, and I wish to focus on this, on the European perspective of the region. So somebody mentioned that Armenia is a cradle of Christianity, that in this sense you have indebted the world and our continent. I think it was the honorable colleague from United Kingdom that mentioned that. Georgia gave us wine and winemaking. So yes, this region really, indebted our continent. But European perspective for the region is not only political issue, at least from my perspective, it's also economical issue and security issue. And to say it any other way would be, understatement and actually not living in a bubble. I was a great proponent of the enlargement of the Union when I was a parliamentarian, and still am, by the way. Of course, Croatia is focused on our immediate neighborhood, like Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have even bilateral agreements signed to this effect, because Croatia is unfortunately still the youngest member of the European Union. But perhaps with the freshest experience of joining the Union, we can help other countries who aspire to be members, including Armenia, Georgia, as well as we are helping Bosnia and Herzegovina and Montenegro. And finally, these are my final remarks. Somebody mentioned in the plenum the reforms that European Union requires of a country are not because of the European Union, it's for yourself. And there is another saying that probably sums the experience quite accurately. It is not the outcome, the end, it is the journey towards the membership. And journey towards the membership is always unique. For each country, there are different sets of challenges. But what I wish to encourage you, dear colleagues from Armenia, ask for help, ask for other experiences, collect them, because I'm sure they will be invaluable once you officially start your way towards the European Union, for which I'm really, really rooting. And for our colleagues from European member states, I urge you to support the European enlargement because, as I said, it is no longer only a political issue. It's predominantly in this new geopolitical situation that is changing rapidly, becoming a security issue for our continent as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Domagoj, Mr. Ilgovic, and please, Sarkis, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ripsime, for moderating this very important discussion. And I want, first of all, to thank all of you for the words of support, and we perceive it as a support of the people of your countries, because you represent the people of your countries, and it is very encouraging to hear these words of support in Yerevan. And secondly, I want to thank you for bringing your perspectives. We heard Irish, UK perspective, which is very important. We heard the Balkan perspective. We heard the Greek perspective, and it's very, and generally the Scandinavian perspective, of course. And it's very important to hear about these success stories. And my dream is that in not a very distant future, but in a close future, I and Dimitro will be able to speak about our perspectives of peace, the Armenian perspective of peace as a success story, or the Ukrainian perspective of peace as a success story. And as I am not mistaken, it was Bertie Ahern, the former Prime Minister of Ireland, who signed the Good Friday Agreement, said that peace is not an event; it's a process. And we are in the middle of the process. And many of you mentioned the pillars of that process. It's the bilateral conversation. It's the dialogue between the parties. It's the multilateralism and the support of other actors through that process. Arjen mentioned personal relations, which is also, I believe, very important. And of course, the interparliamentary dialogue that many of you spoke about. And I think that is the reason that we decided within this diplomatic forum to also have the parliamentary dimension, because it is very important for us to meet and to talk as much as possible and then go back to our capitals and act. Thank you very much. Thank you for being in Yerevan and enjoyed your time in Armenia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarkis. And in my capacity, I will be very, very short. I just want to say thank you to each of you for, first of all, for coming and being here, for being present, for your participation, for sharing your perspectives, your experiences with us. And I want to thank everyone for noticing the very difficult efforts that Armenia is putting forward towards promoting peace and making peace possible in our region and beyond. And I believe that since very many of you stressed the importance of democracy, I just want to say that democracies need to support democracies, because yes, democracy is the only guarantee for peace as we see it. But democracies are also vulnerable, and democracies need the support of other democracies. So please, let's continue supporting each other. We do feel the support of all of you. So thank you very much for this, and please enjoy your time in Armenia. Thank you very much.